What's going on, guys? It's Frito here for your Overwatch, and today we've got a balanced blog post from Blizzard and a bunch of other stories I've been tracking down that I think you're going to be interested in. One hand gives, the other takes away. Post-beta updates for Mercy and Moira. Here's the big one. After taking community feedback into account, we've decided to revert the Moira beta changes, namely the new Necrotic Orb ability. We'll dive deeper into this in an upcoming statistics blog, but the main reason for its removal is that the overall gameplay loop became far too passive for many players. The power that Necrotic Orb brought to the table necessitated a long cooldown to make the effect impactful but not overly frustrating to play against. However, this meant many players would just hold the ability for the perfect moment, which had the side effect of decreasing the amount of cool stuff happening in the moment-to-moment gameplay and shifting too much of it into healing. Necrotic Orb and all of Moira's compensation nerfs will be reverted in time for the Overwatch League starting August 11th. Now, they talk about Mercy here too, but to stick on the same subject, I'm going to float over to a Reddit post. This post to Reddit is a gold player's opinion of why they prefer the damage orb and gives a few examples. You can bounce it off a wall to probe enemies. You can finish them off from behind a shield, which, by the way, having an orb that penetrates shields, Moira doesn't have utility. Well, yeah, kind of. It's one of the few abilities that do that, actually, the old version of damage orb, and create a death zone, trap an enemy into a corner, things like this. The damage orb was much easier to use and maybe more fun for people who just want to throw an ability out. I'm curious to see where they go with this next. Any support character that they make that has a timing, interaction, positioning based kit is going to be difficult for most players to feel like they can actualize. What I hope the developers do is allow the support category to be the casters of the team, which means you're gonna need some expectation of being able to time abilities because you're gonna get the strongest abilities. We already know what supports that act like shooter DPS or big playmakers look like in Overwatch 2. That's easy. As long as a character feels like that, they can compete. As they've said in other interviews, they want to make more game sense based supports, and this Moira experiment is one that I guess is going back to the drawing board. It's going to be challenging for the devs because what they have to figure out how to do is make a character like Mercy, who's at a hopefully like very perfect zone of maximum output due to the minimum amount of input you even can put into the character. The skill ceiling of Mercy is naturally limited because of the lack of buttons and attacks that she has, which instead allows you to focus on your Overwatch game sense throughout the team fight. And if these characters don't have a Resurrect or Enfeeble type ability, well, what are they ever going to do? Speaking of Mercy, let's move on into the blog post where they say Super Jump is the result of a bug that occurred during Guardian Angel. This bug became a core mechanic of high-level Mercy gameplay, and it added a lot of depth to her movement. Our goal was to integrate it into her kit for Overwatch 2 so it wasn't as hidden for new players. What's up with the wording of this blog post all of a sudden? Do they have to pay per word? Is this a budget cut? This language is so truncated. It sounds like they're rushing through every sentence like they just woke up and don't want to get out of bed. Super Jump is just a bug. We tried to make it a mechanic. It didn't work. What do you want from me? We recognize that the first iteration on Guardian Angel didn't feel quite right, and we've had similar thoughts from our players. We're currently testing another iteration of Guardian Angel that includes the directional control we added in the beta, but it also allows Mercy to super jump in a similar way as before. This means canceling the ability with crouch will launch her straight upwards without having to look in that direction. I think Mercy players are going to love this because this means you gain all of the big buffs that min-maxing the Guardian Angel cancel to whip yourself forward or backwards, and then packaging in the super jump with crouch as well, so you have even more options available to you. Sounds good to me. That's it for this blog post. Let's take a look at the other Overwatch news. You meta slaves out there might be terrified to find out that that very first Junker Queen patch where she came out with the commanding shout that gave an instant 100 health to her team. Later on, they went to nerf it, but on the Contenders patch, they still had it, and it's creating a GOATS-esque meta. The properties of the GOATS comp, of course, is a close-range composition that needs to close the distance quickly and is very tanky. While we should expect this kind of result when Blizzard is in beta phase for the game, but it's also concerning what a new hero can do in terms of radically change the game state. The comp they're running has Lucio Brig, and with the Junker Queen commanding Shout, just rushes in deep. If each individual member of your team gets 100 instant health, and back when it didn't decay, that means a coordinated team can cycle those HP pools. So the guy in back who gets the 100 health still has it while the person in front tanks, then you rotate, and essentially it turns everybody into the tank synergies from Overwatch 1. I remember this, okay? So 2 tanks was oppressive in a way because you could cycle their health pools. We talked about this when we were comparing to Overwatch 2. Well, now with Junker Queen turning your whole team into tanks, well, everybody gets to do that, and it's just a overwhelming mess of an ability. It's just the beta version though, but let's just strap in for whenever there's a new tank or support kit that comes out. The game's just gonna get broken. We know how this game works by now. We've been playing it for years. The real Aaron Keller joined Twitter recently, which is a big deal because typically Blizzard developers aren't in the limelight on social media. They kind of refrain from it. But we've seen over time, a lot of the other dev studios out there do have at least some of their developers, or their lead in this case, go onto the social media platforms to give their own takes on what's going on, which can maybe add a bit more personality as well as insight. Okay, Uncle Aaron, let me help you out on how to join Overwatch Twitter. What you gotta do is complain about the meta nonstop and blame your teammates for all your ranked losses. That's the full guidebook. That's all you need to know. What I'm actually hoping for is that Aaron gives more rapid behind the scenes communication about what the team's thinking before it goes into an official blog post. Aaron hasn't tweeted anything yet, but we will certainly be watching this like a hawk to see if there's any useful tidbits of information. CarQ says he is photogenic AF, and well, the proof's in the pudding, isn't it? Because Zoe, the original Overwatch League host, was going on maternity leave for this most recent tournament, the Midseason Madness, Midsummer Night's Dream, whatever it's called, Olivee May, who is from the LCS, came on to claim hosting duties for the tournament. She had some interesting words to say about the Overwatch League, praising for some of the differences it has to the LCS. She says here that she used to always talk trash about the Overwatch League, but coincidentally, as soon as she started to become employed, she has a lot of nice things to say. But this does seem genuine in her defense. But normally a tournament of this scale is more buttoned up and professional, but the Overwatch League allowed for the talent to be more creative, take risks and chances, and also said that the Overwatch League beats the LCS when it comes to using content packages like a, normal sports broadcast might in the broadcast. Our original desk host, Zoe, was going into labor during the tournament, and it took 40 hours, which is starting to get into scary territory of complications. And she says, my cervix is like that one teammate who is completely new to the game, does not understand their role nor the objective, and refuses to join voice chat. This is going to be a long night. But thankfully, after a C-section, both Zoe and LOD came out fine. And I'm sure I speak for the entire Overwatch community when I say, Zoe, congratulations. The world could always use more heroes. Now for a Reddit hot take. The Overwatch 2 tab screen showing everyone's stats reduces toxicity. The type of subject that comes up as a blatantly obvious observation when going back to Overwatch 1, where Tech Money says, in Overwatch 1, it's difficult to truly tell who is performing and who isn't, which leads to accusations and calling people out. This assessment is summed up by SVB, who says listening to your teammates try to figure out what went wrong in a game of Overwatch is like watching people try to solve a clue mystery with Monopoly cards. It was the main heal in the hotel with the whiffed immortality field. No, it was the DPS in the sniper perch with the missed headshot. I find this interesting because having spoke to some high-ranking devs about this exact subject, seeing gamers agree with things I've said for years is always just so warm and validating. The post continues, in Overwatch 2, everyone knows exactly how everyone else is performing, so there's no need to call anyone out. I've had several games in Overwatch 2 where I could have sworn I was doing great, and then I look at the tab screen and see I am underperforming compared to the rest of my team and the enemy team. I love this point so much, and I've done this exact thing, especially as tank. You can go on there brawling, getting 3-to-1 eliminations on your kill death ratio, but press the tab screen and see that the enemy tank has got 5. More information is always better, and it isn't even just to call out a teammate, but maybe you see, well, my support has been dead 20 times this game. Maybe we need to figure out how to protect them, if nothing else. I am so looking forward to the after-match statistics, especially when it comes to reviewing gameplay and coaching. It's going to be so easy to be able to pinpoint stats like that. And the more they can put on the scoreboard in the game is better as well. Two quick final stories for you. Big Bean Child on Reddit shows that in competitive season 23, they were bronze on all 3 roles, but now are peaking into diamond, escaping out of plat on damage and support. Congratulations. The gap between diamond and bronze is gargantuan. The APM alone and the playmaking everyone individually has is beginning to get competent. And my advice to try to get your damage and support up to where your tank is, you likely have to figure out how to become more potent and threatening on those roles consistently, regardless of what your team's doing. So that means with the power positions you take and what value you get out of them when you do take them. Whereas tank, you kind of are in front of the team and you're probably better at syncing up with them, and your teamwork's probably decent, but on damage and support, you're gonna need to pop off regardless of what your team's doing. It's very easy to get lulled into the team comp safety of Overwatch 1, but the way to carry is no different than what you're gonna need to do in Overwatch 2 as well. It's just a bit more obvious because you get shot at more in Overwatch 2. The most recent mastery guides we have made on Ana and McCree, I think will really help you out. Last story of the day, ML7 says Symmetra needs to be a support in Overwatch 2. Fenner, who plays a lot of characters, but specifically Symmetra a lot, says, meh, huge disagree. She already has loads of reworks. Lots of people enjoy her as a DPS. She's unique and interesting. Best to work on balancing heroes and making new ones before completely changing a hero that people have fallen in love with and have enjoyed playing. My opinion is Symmetra, just like Moira and the entire like low skill ceiling and floor output type heroes, I would like them to be supports with those big game-changing abilities, and I think Teleporter fits in one of those. The devs did also say that supports will always have some healing component, so we'll never see a world where there is a pure utility support. So while I think making Symmetra a support might be a balanced nightmare that they have to figure out, I also think I would like to see the DPS category lose some fun tools and the support category gain them, especially when they are lower mechanical skill costs, because I think that would be a fun way to make support feel supportive without feeling like you need to also be a DPS player to get value out of that role. Let me know your thoughts on everything we covered today, especially this. Maybe we'll do another episode where I read through some of your comments, as you guys have been leaving excellent thoughts and opinions on a lot of these discussions we've been having, as you always do. You guys are so smart.